Okay, welcome back to Mr. Levy's math room. Now, today we are going to be looking at multiplying a whole number by a mixed fraction. So, multiplying a whole number by a mixed fraction. Now, the first thing we need to do when we are multiplying a whole number by a mixed fraction is to convert the mixed fraction into an improper fraction. So, let's go ahead and do that. So, we have 8 times 2.5. So we have 8 times, so we do the same thing, 2 times 2, that's 4, plus 1 is 5, that's 5 over 2. Now, all whole numbers can be expressed as a fraction by doing what? By putting that whole number over 1. So let's do that so we have two fractions working with. Right? So if I put this 8 over 1, it doesn't change the value of 8, there's still 8, right? And so we can go ahead. Now there are two ways you can do this. One, we can multiply across, so we can multiply the whole number by the numerator. And so if we do that, we have 8 times 5 equals 40 over 1 times 2 is 2. And then we simplify that, so 2 into 40 is 20. Alright? Now, let's do this another way. So we have 8 over 1 times 5 over 2. Now, one other thing we can do, we can look at the numerators and denominators, see if any of them have any common factors. Alright? So we look for common factors here. We notice that 2 is a factor of 8. Alright? So 2 is a factor of 8. So 2 can go into 8. So we can cancel these. So we say 2 into itself is 1. 2 into 8 is 4. And then we say 4 times 5 is 20. Alright? So we arrive at the same answers. Right? Now, it is generally recommended that you go ahead and cancel, because sometimes you are working with some large numbers. Right? So instead of working with the large numbers, what you can do is go ahead and you can do your cancellation. Alright, so let's go over that. So the first thing we need to do is to convert the mixed number to an improper fraction. Alright, then we are going to multiply the numerators. So multiply the whole number by the numerator. Alright, we get 8 times 5, 40 over 2. That's 40 divided by 2 is 20. Alright. Now, we say all whole numbers can be written as a fraction by putting that number over 1. Alright? It doesn't change the value of the number. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So here we have 7 and 4 and 2 sevenths. So 7 times 4 and 2 over 7. So to convert this mixed number, we say 7 times 4, 4 times 7 is 28, 28 plus 2 is 30. So we can put our 7 over 1 times 7 4 is 28 and 2, 30 over 7, right? And then we can go ahead, if you're multiplying across, you multiply the numerators, 7 times 3 is 21, and we put our 0, so 7 times 30 is 210, right, divided by 7. Good. Then we can say 7 into itself is 1, 7 into 21 is 3, so that gives us 30. Good. Now let's do the cancellation. So we have 7 over 1 times 30 over 7. Good. Now we can go ahead, if you notice we have common factors, so we can cancel our 7s. Good. So we are left with 30 over 1. 30 divided by 1 is still 30. Alright? So remember, as we said before, it is generally advisable, right, to do your cancellation before these big multiplication, because sometimes you may make mistakes, right? So instead of working with the large numbers, so just check to see if you have anything common between the numerators and the denominators, if any of them are factors of another, and you can do your cancellation. Good? Now let's work on another one. So we have 6 and 1/3. 6 and 1/3. Oh, sorry. So 6 times 1 and 1/3. Alright? So go ahead again. So we put this over 1. So 6 over 1 times 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 over 3. Then we can go ahead. We can multiply the numerators. So 6 times 4 is 24. And 1 times 3 is 3. 24 divided by 3 is 8. 3 8 24. Alright? Now if you're going to cancel, you have 6 over 1 times 4 over 3. So we have 3 is a factor of 6. Right? So 3 is 1. 3 to 6 is 2. Then 2 times 4 is equal to 8. Good? So you can determine which one of them you want to do, but I advise that you look to see if there's anything you can cancel before instead of multiplying the numerators. Alright? Okay. So let's remove that. And let's do one more. Alright? So say we have 5 times 2 and 3/5. Good? So we do the same thing. We can make the whole number into a fraction by putting it over 1 times 2 5 10. 10 plus 3 is 15 over 5. Now we can look. We have we have 5 is a factor of 15, 5 is a factor of itself. So 5 can go into 15, so we can just say 5 into itself is 1, 5 into 15 is 3. Good? Or we can simply cancel the 5. 5 will go into itself 1, 5 into 5, 1. Then we are left with 15 over 1, which is equal to 15. Good? Alright. So that's that. Okay. Now, let's say we are multiplying two fractions. Right? Two fractions we have. So we have 1/2 times 2/3. Good? So we have 1/2 times 2/3. Now, when we are multiplying two fractions or two fractions like this, let's see, in this case, notice we have 2 is a factor of itself, so we could cancel these. Alright? So if I cancel these, 2 into itself 1, 2 into itself 1, I am left with 1/3. Alright? Now, what we could have done as well is multiplying the numerators by themselves, the denominator by themselves. So let's do that. We have 1/2 times 2/3. So if I multiply the numerators, so I have 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 times 3 is 6. Good? Now this 2/6 is equivalent to what? Right? When we are writing this in its simplest form, right? So we can cancel. We call that cancellation, right? So we are going to write this final as an equivalent fraction by dividing both the numerator and the denominator by a common factor, alright? So the common factor here would be 2. So we are going to divide 2 into 2 is 1, 2 into 6 is 3. So that gives us 1/3, alright? So 1, when I multiply the two fractions, we can multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, right? Here, that's here. 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6. Or we can go ahead and we can do our cancellations. And remember we said in cancellation, we are dividing by a common factor, right, of the two numbers. Alright, now let's look at another one. Good. So we have 3/5 times 2/3. Alright. So here again we can multiply the numerators, we can multiply the denominators. So 3 times 2 is equal to 6, 5 times 3 is 15. Good. Now, is anything common to 6 and 3? Yes, 3 is common to 6 and 15. And 3, that's a common factor of both numbers. So we can simplify this, alright? So we can reduce it by dividing 6 by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. So that is equal to 2/5. Okay, so we have written that in the simplest form, or we have reduced it, right, to the simplest form by dividing both the numerator and the denominator by the same factor. Alright? Okay, now if we had done our calculations, we have 3/5 times 2/3. We could have done what? Cancel the 3's. So this 3 into 3 is 1, 3 into 3 is 1, and we have 2/5. Good? So you can choose whichever method you are more comfortable with, but I recommend that you do your calculations instead of multiplying the numerators and the denominators. It is easier to make mistakes that way. Alright, and you want to eliminate mistakes. Okay, now let's look at one more. So we have 1/4 times 5/8, and I'm going to extend this by adding another third fraction, right? And we can say 7/15. Good. So let's use the cancellation method. So let's look to see if we have any common factor, right? And we can cancel. So, right, we have 5 and 15, right? 5 is a factor of 15, right? So 5 into 7 is 1, 5 into 15 is 3. Is there anything else common? No. So now we can go ahead and we can do our multiplication across. So we'll multiply the numerators. So 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 7 is 7. Then 4 times 8, 4 is 32. 32 times 3, let's do that. 32 times 3, 3 2 6, 3 3 is 9. So that's 7 over 96. Alright? So 4 is 32. 32 times 3 is 96. Alright? Okay. Now, if you didn't do the cancellation, you'd work with something. So you'd be doing 7 times 5 is 35. So that's 35 over 4 times 8 times 15. Right? And then you have to go ahead and then you have to simplify to get it into its simplest form. Alright? Now let's do another one. So we have, let's say we have 3/5 times 1/3 times 5/6. Okay? So let's go ahead. We can let's do the cancellation method. Look to see what's common. Look if there are any common factors. So we know 3. So 3 into itself is 1. Then we have 5. 5 cancels 5. Right? So we're left with 1 times 1 is 1 times 1 is 1. Over 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 6 is 6. So that gives us 1/6. Alright? Now let's look at what would happen if we were to multiply the numerators. So 3 times 1 is 3, and then 3 times 5 15. So that will be 15 over 5 times 3, or let's do this 6 times 5 is 30. 30 times 3 is 90. So that's 90, and then we'll have to now go ahead and cancel this, right? So we could say, how many times do we get 15 out of 90? Or maybe you have to work with 5. So you start with maybe the least common factor, or the smallest factor, sorry. So we can start with 5, so we say 5 into 15 is 3, 5 into 90 will give us what? So 5 into 9 is 1, 4, 5 into 40 is 8, right? So that's 3 over 18, then we say 3 into 3, 1, 3 into 18 is 6, and then that will give us 1/6, right? Now, see how much simpler it was when we did the cancellation, alright? So, I advise that we do a cancellation instead of doing this multiplying all the numerators and multiplying all the denominators, alright? So, we stop here for today. I'm encouraging you to find some questions and practice, 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 practice. Alright, so I'll see you in our next session. Remember to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you will never miss another session. Blessings. Peace.